Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
1 minute, the courtroom was silent. The next, a song filled the air, a Prince track tied to the darkest corners of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged past. And in that moment, everything changed. The music wasn't random. Prosecutors deliberately played it during evidence presentation, linking it directly to video footage from one of Diddy's alleged freak-off events. And when it hit, Diddy lost it. According to reporters inside the courtroom, the moment the first notes played, he visibly flinched, then tensed, then snapped. He reportedly slammed a hand on the defense table, muttered loudly under his breath, and had to be calmed down by his attorneys. This wasn't just discomfort, it was panic, caught in real time, in front of the judge, jury, and press.
As he said he would get physical, that one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
It's one thing to hear testimony, to see documents, even to watch footage. It's another thing entirely to hear a song that brings it all rushing back, emotionally, publicly, and under oath. The track allegedly played at multiple freak-offs, according to witness testimony. It was, as one courtroom observer put it, the soundtrack of Diddy's worst-kept secrets. So when it played in court, it didn't just expose evidence. It pulled the curtain back emotionally. It forced Diddy to relive it. And in front of a jury? That reaction speaks louder than the music ever could. This wasn't just a strategy. It was a psychological hit job, and it landed perfectly.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they...
Trying to listen. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing that seems to be like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to like not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, like, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing drugs. He worked out, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
People watching said the jury leaned forward. You could feel the tension. Some jurors looked stunned. A few glanced directly at Diddy, watching his every micro-reaction. It was like watching a man get unmasked in slow motion. Up until now, the defense has painted Diddy as calm, composed, misunderstood, but this moment, it shattered that image completely. In a matter of seconds, he went from poker-faced mogul to visibly triggered defendant. And that shift, you can't unsee that, especially if you're a juror trying to decide who this man really is.
Ventura's attorney is optimistic outside of court.
Doing great. I said she was ready, and I think she's demonstrating that. The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear as the case goes on and Cassie's testimony goes on, and we'll see what the jury does.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about Freak Off.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a fourth day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs' desires. "I'm always ready to freak off," one message said.
As soon as reporters started tweeting about the moment, it exploded. Clips, threads, TikToks recreating the scene. Headlines like, Prince track plays in court, Diddy melts down, soundtrack to Scandal, Diddy loses it as Prince song airs. During trial, Diddy's calm cracks and the whole courtroom saw it. Some users called it karma, others called it the moment the mask slipped. And as far as public image goes, this one might be irreversible. It's no longer just about what Diddy did or didn't do. It's about how he's acting while being held accountable, and the world just saw him unravel.
She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, "I'm always ready to freak off." There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage, and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
And finally, we'll talk about Justin Bieber because he is finally addressing the Diddy stuff. There's been long speculation that somehow he's involved.
Surprised it took so long to address.
Well, he's clearing that up now. And also we'll talk about how people are scared for Justin Bieber because they think he's in a cult. They have to have a
By the end of today, Cassie will be done. So they have all day today to ask her whatever they want to ask her.
Because obviously she's about to pop. And that's like...
Which is totally understandable.
So if she did pop, if she did give birth, let's say the technical term, over the weekend, you know what would happen then, Devin?
I don't.
Mistrial, baby.
Why do you say that? What?
Because she's due back on the stand to give testimony. And if she can't give testimony anymore...
No, she's giving testimony today.
I know. I was saying, what if...
Oh, like she gave birth and then
that's why. That's the
delayed.
reason. If she wasn't pregnant, I don't think the judge would have said you have to finish by today.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Obviously. That's the whole,
okay.
That's the whole crux of the argument.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You didn't explicitly, spell it out.
But Diddy's team is also pissed off because they're like, we want as much time as we can have.
This wasn't just about playing music. This was about strategy. Legal experts say prosecutors intentionally used that Prince song as a calculated move, not just to support the evidence, but to trigger a visceral reaction from Diddy. And it worked better than anyone expected. In trials like this, high profile, emotional, reputation on the line, body language becomes evidence. And Diddy's body said it all. The flinch, the hand slap, the verbal outburst. It wasn't just an oops moment. It was a crack in the armor. One prosecutor even described it as a moment of truth, not under oath. Because a courtroom doesn't just judge what's said, it judges what can't be hidden.
The last freak off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown. Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas, and he just sold that footage.
Her voice is low at times. The defense did tell her if it's too much, I can read them, but there were many times early on this morning where she read some of those explicit details where she is clearly excited about a freak off and talks about entertaining other people in the bedroom.
And what has Diddy's demeanor been in this cross-examination as well?
There was a moment where Sean Combs was nodding in agreement when they brought up a message that he sent her where he said, you know, one of my favorite times of the freak-offs is when we're able to make love after. And then she responds, that's the same for me. Now, what's interesting here is that that does match what she told prosecutors or what she's been telling the jury all along, which is she did this and she said, but she really wanted to spend time with him after the fact. So he was shaking his head at this message where he's almost, I guess, agreeing that he did say, without him saying it, he enjoyed having the freak offs and then having sex with her after the fact. And her saying, I agree with you. I love having sex with you after too.
One thing that really stands out that she says is that at one point Diddy had a knife inside her mouth and then says, I'm going to give you a Glasgow smile, which is, you know, slitting someone's cheeks. But he's warned against it by a member of his team, saying Diddy's associates would prefer it if she, referring to Ashley, looked normal. She also says that they said to her they could ship her off and sell her to anyone in the world and she'd never be seen again by her parents or loved ones. Now, Ashley did make a police report in 2018 at the time of the alleged incident, and the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department confirmed her report was thoroughly investigated and it was determined the claims were unfounded. Diddy's team said Mr. Combs was nowhere near Orinda, California on the day that she claimed she was assaulted. There's no evidence that Mr. Combs was ever even in the same room as the alleged victim. She's completely unbelievable and no sane person who views the evidence will credit her story.
What makes this moment even more explosive is what the song reportedly represents. Witnesses in the case, including Diddy's ex, Cassie, alleged that this Prince track was part of a very specific playlist used during his infamous freak-off parties, a playlist tied to disturbing allegations of manipulation, power dynamics, and abuse. So when that song played in court, it didn't just call back memories. It confirmed testimony. It connected dots for the jury. It gave the evidence a soundtrack, one that can't be unseen or unheard. One courtroom source said, "You could feel the oxygen leave the room. That's not just theatrics. That's a win for the prosecution."
Nobody had to look at him for real. And the truth is nobody did. Everybody laughed and joked about him dancing like a idiot in all them goddamn videos, twirling around in circles. This a bit wild, you know. So I'm just saying, they didn't know, and he wasn't telling them. They just know he got the budget. He go to LA, he talk to Clive, he come back with the bread. Apparently, he has this man's confidence. Yeah, I'm sure that man was very confident with his in his mouth.
We made love.
Who you made love with?
Diddy, Bow Wow, Busta Rhymes.
Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. He has been covered and protected by not only Clive Davis, but Lucian Grange. He was selected to be the demon that he is, to keep the culture in line so the industry could continue for all of its precious jewels. We have too many lost. The list of lost is ridiculous, and everyone knows Diddy was selected for this job. He's the Judas.
Major developments involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted.
Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government? He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what? Maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
Buffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f*** you.
Immediately after the incident, Diddy's lawyers requested a sidebar with the judge, pushing to exclude similar audio from future sessions. Too late. The moment already happened. The jury already saw it, and the headlines already locked it in. This sauce. Defense is now scrambling to do damage control. They're expected to claim Diddy's reaction was emotional, not incriminating. That the song had personal value, not legal weight. That it's character assassination, not case building. But the problem is this. Diddy gave the reaction they feared most. He looked rattled, defensive, exposed, and now that image is stuck in the jury's heads, even when the speakers are off.
Elaborate, sometimes days-long parties by coercing victims through drugs, threats, and manipulation. They claim to have video evidence, and some of the accusations echo details from over 70 civil lawsuits filed against Combs over the last 30 years.
But you guys weren't even 18 years old. You couldn't escape. You couldn't get out of there. There were so many times I tried to intervene. There was a lot of times.
This is going to be such a massive trial, like maybe the biggest Hollywood trial. God knows which way it's going to go. Is it going to go on for weeks?
For sure, weeks.
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes. As his lawyers argue, the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
Would you be open to a plea bargain?
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening. Why? Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent. And what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
The deck is stacked against him. They've got a ton of evidence. Take the plea deal, dude. Just take it.
Well, my guess is that, because we don't know the deal of the plea deal. At least I don't think we do.
True.
And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's...
Back up a little bit, please.
How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
Before this moment, the trial was big. After it, it's a media inferno. TV analysts, lawyers on podcasts, entertainment blogs, everyone's dissecting the song scene. Some are calling it the emotional peak of the trial. Others are already predicting it'll be reenacted in documentaries. Twitter's running with the hashtag Donner Prince moment. TikTokers are lip-syncing courtroom quotes. YouTubers are uploading breakdowns with thumbnails like, Diddy breaks down in court. Was this the turning point? Prince song played in court? What it means for the trial verdict. And just like that, the trial's no longer about facts. It's about the moment. Because if people believe Diddy cracked, that belief spreads faster than any testimony. Trial experts will tell you, jurors remember drama more than paperwork. When the verdict day comes, they won't recall every line of every deposition, but they will remember Diddy's face when that music started, his panic, the tension, the way the courtroom practically stopped breathing. It's psychological branding, and the prosecution nailed it because that one song now represents everything this case is about: control, image, power, and the moment it all slipped. And when the jury goes into deliberation, they won't just be deciding guilt. They'll be remembering that look in his eyes. Let's be honest, Diddy's public image was already in freefall before this, but this courtroom explosion didn't just hurt, it shattered what was left. Even fans who were trying to separate the artist from the accusations are starting to fold. Because now it's not about what Diddy says, it's about how he reacts under pressure. And no PR team can spin a courtroom freakout. Commentators are now calling him a man unraveling, a puppet master who lost the strings, and proof that the past always plays back eventually. This isn't a blip. It's a cultural reset on how Diddy is seen by a generation that once idolized him. We're still in the middle of the trial. Witnesses are still testifying. Evidence is still being presented. But ask anyone watching what they think he cracked. That song exposed him. That moment changed everything. The court hasn't ruled, but the court of public opinion just did. And the man who once ruled hip-hop now finds himself in a position he never expected. Center stage, no microphone, and no control over the track list. Section 1, when the music stops and the fallout begins. Diddy's breakdown in court wasn't just a moment, it was a momentum shift. Because once you lose your cool in front of a jury, you're no longer in control of the story. And once you lose control of the story in public, your empire starts bleeding from the top down. This isn't just about a bad courtroom day, it's about what happens when a titan of the music industry, a mogul who curated his image for decades, shows the world exactly what's behind the curtain. And it isn't swagger, it's fear. The courtroom didn't just rattle Diddy, it cracked his persona. And now the collapse is echoing across every level of his career. For years, Diddy was untouchable. Mogul status, multi-platinum records, Cyrock, Revolt, Grammy wins, Forbes lists. But after that courtroom moment, labels, sponsors, and collaborators started going quiet. Real quiet. Music execs don't care about the drama unless it threatens revenue. And right now, Diddy equals volatility. You won't hear anyone at the top saying it out loud, but inside those label boardrooms, he's bad press now. Even if he beats the case, artists are going to think twice about featuring with him. Brand deals? Ghosted? Award show invites? Doubtful. Because when the internet clips your trial breakdown into reaction memes, you're not a mogul anymore. You're content. The silence from other artists is deafening. No support posts, no free my guy tweets, not even a vague prayers up. Why? Because no one wants to be caught in the blast radius. Even longtime collaborators who built their careers alongside Diddy are stepping back, watching from a distance. Industry loyalty lasts right up until public perception flips. And after that courtroom freakout, that flip happened in real time. Right now, no artist wants to be asked. So, what do you think about what happened in court with Diddy? Because any answer? Lose-lose. Let's not forget, Diddy's not just a musician. He's a brand, a boss, the face of Revolt TV, and at one point the king of pushing black-owned businesses to the forefront. But when your name becomes radioactive, your platforms do too. Revolt staffers are reportedly distancing themselves from him internally. Advertisers are rethinking renewals. Streaming services are being pressured to reevaluate their partnerships. You don't have to cancel a media mogul to crush his empire. All you have to do is make him unmarketable. And right now, that's already happening. Diddy always had ride or die. Fans, old heads who grew up on No Way Out, millennials who danced to Last Night, even Gen Zers who know him more as a brand than a rapper. But now, you scroll through his mentions and it's a whole new world. I used to respect Diddy. Now, I'm just embarrassed. That courtroom clip? He's cooked. You know you're guilty when a Prince song makes you panic like that. Even if you're a legend, you can't out-legacy a viral courtroom freakout. Because the internet doesn't care what you did in the 90s. They care what you did last week, and what they saw was a man falling apart under pressure. Let's say Diddy walks out of court free, not guilty, clean on paper. He'll still face the hardest comeback of his life. Every new project will be shadowed by, is this the guy who lost it when that Prince song played? Every interview will be haunted by what he won't say. Every appearance will feel like a test. Can he still fill arenas? Can he still sell lifestyle? Can he still lead culture? Because you can survive a scandal. You can even survive a case. But surviving your own image breaking in front of millions? That's another level entirely. Diddy built an empire. He changed music. He made mogul culture part of hip-hop. But what good is a legacy if the final chapters are written in real time and written by memes? That Prince song wasn't just a soundbite. It was a symbol, a trigger, a soundtrack to the moments Diddy wanted to erase. And now, it's burned into the trial, burned into the jury's minds, burned into public perception. His legacy isn't just at stake, It's being rewritten right now, one headline, one courtroom flinch, one viral clip at a time. There are two trials happening here, the one inside the courtroom and the one happening in the court of public opinion. And after that Prince song moment, it's pretty clear which one is hitting Diddy harder, because even if his lawyers manage to pick apart the case, poke holes in timelines, discredit witnesses, argue technicalities, it won't matter to the public anymore. They saw the moment. They saw the freak out. They saw a man with decades of power visibly unravel at the sound of a song. That image is louder than any defense statement. That's the trial most people already judged. That courtroom didn't need a jury for the public to decide. As soon as the moment was clipped, titled, memed, and posted, the timeline handed down its decision. And it wasn't a nuanced one. It wasn't, let's wait for all the evidence. It was, if that song made him panic, imagine what he's hiding. Now, is that fair? Legally? No. But this isn't about fairness. This is about optics. And in 2025, optics rule everything. Diddy's entire empire, music, branding, influence, was built on control. Controlling the message, the narrative, the room. For decades, he was the guy who walked in and owned the space. He set the tone. You followed his lead. But now, he's being led by lawyers, by headlines, by the people versus Sean Combs. The moment that song played, the image of Diddy in control, smooth, confident, untouchable, was shattered, and the jury didn't even need to hear testimony to feel it. They watched the man behind the myth fold in real time, and when the boss breaks, the brand crumbles. Let's say he beats the case, no conviction, walks out technically clean. He's still walking into a world that watched him break down in front of a judge. That watched one song, connected to allegations of exploitation and abuse, strip away all his confidence, cool and composure. He'll tour again, maybe drop a project, maybe even land on a podcast to tell his truth. But it'll never land the same, because once you become the villain of the moment, no amount of PR resets the clock. Every headline from now on comes with an asterisk, acquitted. But you remember the breakdown, right? That's not freedom, that's reputation limbo. Before this trial, Diddy's legacy was music, business, entrepreneurship, innovation. Now, that's all being reevaluated. Documentaries are already being planned. Think pieces are in motion. Biographers are updating their chapters. The industry is reshuffling how they reference him. He's no longer the blueprint for hip-hop moguldom. He's the warning label on the side of it. What was once a story about climbing from Harlem to Forbes is now a cautionary tale about power, silence, and what happens when receipts start playing out loud in the form of music, testimony, and courtroom breakdowns. In the end, this whole collapse didn't come from some explosive piece of evidence. It came from one song tied to too many secrets, played at the wrong time for the right reason. And Diddy's reaction? That wasn't strategy. That was instinct. That was the real him. And the world saw it. Everything after that, the spin, the silence, the statements, can't undo what the jury and the public now believe deep down. This man isn't in control anymore. And once that belief sticks, it becomes legacy. The courtroom verdict might take weeks, but the public? They've already made theirs. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell, because when a legacy unravels live, you can count on us to break every piece down before the gavel drops.